this is the man who, you know, has the bragging rights of killing Zunba with his hammer in Molten Core, obviously at a prior World Cup, and something I'm sure he's quite proud of. It's just one of those things that just doesn't happen very often, and the idea is, of course, is it to bring shame? I'm not really sure. No, I think it's just a style on someone. Obviously, look, they still lost that match. So.
If you guys played a ton of comp at home, and when you have a team that may not be as coordinated, and you're going up against something like the Orisa Torb on the high ground with a really good Widowmaker, like, it's difficult for teams that can't really get that dive down to win. So it seems some people would call it like BM. Some people would just say we're trying to just get this done as fast and easy as possible, right? Where they're going to switch off the Torb here, though. They'll be playing Junkrat.
This would be interesting, right? If we see this sort of Sombra with double DPS setup. It's actually been a couple moons since we saw this approach on Horizon. You bring in that Sombra as well, but only just got a face full of 50 cal there. Surefour sends him packing it. Yeah.
Not a ton of healing for Norway, though. I mean, we're going to run the solo healing Lucio.
How are you healing your divers? You can't really dive, right?
It's really about getting in and just getting as many picks as possible, and then using that spawn advantage to get back to the point and just keep it going. I mean, I'm very interested in how Ico operates this as Lucio, where he puts himself to give that healing to his track. Oh no! The Poison Mine claimed him. And now Surefour has so much more room. There's no Genji in the picture, but this is the Dire that we're looking for from Norway. They were lacking healing at the outset, but they're trying to get in and get the damage done. Unfortunately, the fight went a little bit longer than they would have liked. You can't have so little healing going against the Junkrat on the high ground, especially when you have Mercy and Zen. The Discord Orb even putting down more damage on opponents. Is that?
I see.
Do you have IPN here behind enemy lines?
So, what do you think about this Orisa D.Va setup? Normally we usually see a Roadhog paired with the Orisa.
I think the D.Va is good to go and contest the point. Like if the Sombra, the Genji, the Tracer go down there, I think that's why you saw, even towards the later end of Overwatch League, we didn't see the New Horizon Lunar Colony in it, but when we did see a lot of teams trying to put the D.Va into their comps, Surefour is... It's tough for Norway, right? Because you need to put emphasis on getting the Widowmaker out, because you're playing so many squishies and you don't have a lot of healing. That you need to put pressure onto Surefour. But then the issue is if, Mangachu comes back now on Brigitte, but when he was playing Junkrat, if you just let the Junkrat spam everybody down, you don't have enough healing to get through that either. So it's a really tough situation for Norway.
Don't act like you don't already know he's the all-star 1v1 Widow champion, fam. You know that.
He is.
Surefour, obviously, you can see relocating himself in a pinch to avoid a lot of this tank pressure, right? Norway's still persistent with this, and I assume that they really want to try and make something happen with IPN here and that EMP, but only got to use the Pulse Bomb to apparently no avail earlier on, so he's lost that.
And I mean, you're going to have a Dragon Blade, but the other side's just going to have the Transcendence to lay down through it. So you're not really going to be able to do anything with that, unless you do have IPN hit one of these big EMPs and take out Zen.
Was getting turned into spaghetti there by the Hulk, but managed to get away from it.
But see, by the time Norway wants to switch off of this, what are they going to have the opportunity to do?
With 90 seconds.
Most likely they end up going triple tank, triple support, right? In which case, how many ultimates are you going to build up in just a minute, basically, as Canada can just kind of stay on what they're doing and stockpile?
Especially depending on what that extra tank is. What are they hoping for? They take Zarya. Zarya takes a while to charge up. Especially her ultimate. Now, Self-Destruct comes in, Surefour grapples out of trouble, but he actually puts himself in trouble. He needs to grapple towards Norway to actually avoid the blast. Still, seems to be fine. The rest of Canada sitting in this back corner here, and Mangachu looks over his shoulder. There's a Pulse Bomb there. Well, okay, never mind. Only God doesn't quite connect with that one, and Crimzo cuts him down before he reaches his intended target. Canada is looking very comfortable right now, and oh my lord. I need the Nutcracker sweep play here. Decod, can he get him? No, the healing's there, Decod.
So, and here's the problem. You were playing around and getting the EMP off and then using the Dragon Blade because then they wouldn't have the Transcendence. You used the EMP and then you didn't get the Zen. So now you have a Dragon Blade that you can't really use because they have Transcendence.
And you're running Zarya here, who is generally fairly terrible when there's a height differential involved. If you're trying to play from like the low
They're going to go straight to the point.
They have to run across. And let's see how much damage they sort of take before they get there. That's really the important one. No, they've lost Ico already. That's just terrible for them. They needed the sound barrier in this next fight, and now it's not available. Surefour found Decon as well, and it's a very ragged Norway squad that eventually crawled onto the point, but all they have time to do is roll over and give their last breath. Only God's head goes rolling, and Norway, no one stands alive.
So they were not really able to make any progress on that first point. So
yes, Matt, that is correct.
Just reminding everybody. So, no, the one time you did see Surefour actually, here's the EMP that was on the Crimzo. They don't actually, Track just gets that, Dragon Blade.
Look,
you tried to use the Pulse Bomb there, they don't connect, so.
You benefited from the rally from Magnitude there. You get EMP. Right? The reason why, obviously, for Zenyatta players, EMP is so scary is because it strips all of your shielding from you, that 150 shield. But he had a bunch of armor from the rally as well. So that EMP immediately is no longer nearly as lethal to him, and he can stand and fight. Zenyatta, when he's hacked, outside of the fact that obviously losing your shield is bad, you don't really mind too much. In a combat sense, you can still do everything you could before, minus putting a Discord orb on someone. And those orbs hit hard enough on their own as it is.
So here's what I want to see. Mangachu, teleport XQC to the high ground, mid-charge, pin somebody.
Yeah, so we had that conversation yesterday, right? See, as we now know, you can use the teleporter whilst you are charging.
I'm a Symmetra expert, so I knew. I'm not a Symmetra expert. I played maybe 3 minutes of Symmetra.
You need to work on straight face.
Yeah, no. I played a ton when it was on the PTR. When it first came out, I was super hyped. I was playing it a bunch, but my competitive games, trying to be a good teammate, insta-locking Widowmaker instead of playing Symmetra.
Yeah, just turn off your mic and you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
So outside, of course, Decod frolicking in the anti-grab zone, and that is a big pile driver. Now, realistically, I won't talk about the physics of that. Basically, he'd need thrusters to do that, and okay. He doesn't have thrusters.
Yeah, I'm definitely the person to talk physics with.
Yeah, that's okay. It's something to explore later, perhaps. Regardless, only got to be playing. No, it's not happening. Really. Only God's going to play close to the doorway. And again, just try and sit behind. Early scouting. The earlier he can see what Canada are running, the better. Because if he spots this Symmetra, they'll need to communicate that fairly quickly.
But here is a comp you can make Moira work when you're playing the... She's very good in the triple tank. Obviously not running a third tank, you're running the Symmetra.
They're on the point already! Matt, this isn't how it's supposed to happen! Canada have set up now, but Norway trying to fight back at the XQC. Still looking healthy, but doesn't really know where to put himself. Charge doesn't connect on Track, who already found 2 kills. Very dexterous on the Genji. The hand of Canada is kind of revealed, but you're going to have to go back to spawn here as it doesn't quite work out.
Hey, when you come through when they came through the teleporter, you're actually like backwards, so you come through the way you're facing, so they're not really facing where Norway is coming from. As you see the pile driver comes down right on top of it. They're able to take Mangachu out pretty quickly. So Mangachu will switch off of Symmetra. They'll go over to Brigitte right away. So
good Bionade from Ico there as well, to point out.
So you'll see triple support with a Sombra here for Canada.
Okay, back to the drawing board, as it were. And Decod is waiting. I mean, this is a great place to just pile driver on down, and look how mobile he is.
You're going to see Surefour try and get a hack onto Decod, though. Prevent that pile driver from coming down. A Brigitte stun, he's dead, and then you can move your way onto the point.
Hit that hack on the Hammond in midair, and he just floats down like a falling leaf and has about the same impact on landing. Only got EMP, so the time he's spent the last minute or so, sort of just chipping away at the back line of Canada, has yielded results. Now he needs to convert on this ultimate.
They need to conserve some ultimates as well for the fight after.
It's going to be a long winter for them here. It is going to be EMP coming out now. Decod tries to drop on him, but Noti's in trouble. De-suited. Odegaard moves on to his next target. It's Mangachu getting hacked on the point. He's forced to just back away. Canada taking this very slow, very steady, but XQC got hit with a fat Bionade, and Decod drops the mines down.
They may have used too many ultimates, though, Mitch. You used the Wrecking Ball ultimate with the mines. You used EMP, Rally, and Nano Boost there.
That's a lot.
So now you think Track will probably get this Genji Blade in the next fight.
But what are you backing that up with?
Tricky with the self-destruct, really easy to dodge on the point here. So I think Canada's going to have their own EMP, a Transcendence, a self-destruct as well.
You had me at EMP and Transcendence.
Yeah.
Slow and steady for Canada once again. Methodical in their approach. In the back line was Odegaard. He went down to Surefall. A Sombra 1v1. He can add that one to his list of achievements, I suppose. Track's going to have to think about using this Dragon Blade pretty soon, but he's at half health. Self-destruct onto the point. So this is going to force a repositioning for Canada. He runs straight into the self-destruct. Track couldn't survive it. XQC bounds on forward, and IQ has turned into a pancake. And that'll be it, Matt. Just the one tick was all that Canada needed on the point, and eventually they come up with a winning solution. Map 3. Now for Canada, we'll take the series as a result.
And that's what I was worried about for Norway. They used way too many ultimates in the fight before. They come back in the next one, they have to use their self-destruct to just get a remech back on the point for Tricky, so he got no value out of that. And then Track ends up dying at the hands, I believe, of Note's self-destruct when an EMP comes in from Surefour. So the only 2 ultimates they have, they got no use of them there towards the end. Canada makes really good use of their ultimates, takes that one tick on the point.
The story of Surefour does what Surefour pleases continues. One death for him, 28% of his team's overall damage on that Sombra. Obviously, the EMP efficiency still looking very good. Took him about 1:52 to charge that EMP in general, so really impressive stuff. Decod brought out the Wrecking Ball. We saw a couple moments from it there, but again, very, very tricky to survive against the Sombra.
And I think what we see for Norway towards the end is we're seeing from a lot of the teams outside of USA and Canada is like an overcommitment of ultimates in a lot of the fights. Like, you know, some really like late primal rages that like, you know, there's only like 2 or 3 people on the other team alive. Like
for no reason. Really.
Or just trying to use these ultimates to clear the players out fast, but you don't really even need to. Like, you could hold on to those some ultimates, and then USA and Canada, you know, they just bank you know, 4 or 5 ultimates, and you give them that type of advantage, they're going to take the point.
I think that's a great point, actually. We saw Canada on their attack. You know, they would set up on the high ground and just sort of wait and sort of play methodically. And speaking of high ground, there's a lot of it in Gibraltar.
So this is interesting for Norway to go over to Gibraltar, because this is not like a great triple tank, triple support map. Like, you think you want maps that don't have a ton of high ground and verticality, and a map like Gibraltar has a ton where, you know, they can make a really good use out of agilities as Farah. You know, you can even play some Doomfist.
Do you feel like this enables the Norway Genji Tracer sort of
Genji Tracer? Maybe you feel like you want to, you know, play Onigod on some more Widowmaker, but then you're against Surefour, who's a tremendous Widowmaker player. So really interesting selection here from Norway.
Now as we just scoot over the cliffs here, we'll see that Canada will start on the defensive side here. So their lock-ins will be obviously fairly pertinent for us to study. I mean, no surprise to see Surefour on that Widow. Yeah. I mean, you know, Canada probably envisioning that they're going to get dived on to a degree, so Mangachu on Brigitte definitely seems to be just an academic decision.
I mean, even for as much as, you know, we've kind of joked about it, it's a really good map for Torbjorn, right? Arisa Torb up on, like, the high ground. You could do some stuff like that. So we'll see what Canada decides to do on defense. They got taking Norway really seriously. So, you know, speaking to a lot of teams, I know they heard a lot of good things about Norway coming into this event. Norway has played everybody pretty tough. I think they're really happy to see Brazil play well here so far this weekend. I think I keep saying it, watching them play, I'm like, oh man, if they have like more play time against like NA contenders teams and like, you know, a little bit of you know, stronger competition, I think they could definitely like really make some noise, you know, down the line.
Yeah, Overwatch is the game that kind of gets decided to a degree, you know, on your take on the game as opposed to your opposition's sort of the way you perceive the most effective ways to proceed, right? It seems like Canada and the USA respectively are pretty locked in with an understanding of, you know, Sombra's importance, obviously Doomfist's impact, Wrecking Ball when required. So Norway out of the gates here, double sniper composition by the looks of things here. IPN on that Zenyatta, so definitely going to be wary of Surefour, but that's a very early decent. Crypto fell to Onigod. Oh, Canada have extended so far early, getting plucked out of their hidey holes and sent back home.
Yeah, Norway with a really nice, you run that double off tank at the beginning, get that Roadhog hook up at the high ground, get a quick pick.
Is that standard though? I feel like I see that all the time.
You know, we haven't seen it in a while. Like at the Overwatch League level, like I can't remember the last time, maybe at the beginning of the league when we saw like Gibraltar around in the map pool, but towards the end we never really saw anything like that. So
look, it's one of those things you look out for, right? Only God finds Surefour here, so I mean this Norway train is just going to keep rolling. Resurrect Surefour, Barney obviously. Oh, again! This time it's Track sending him home. Dragon Strike cutting through the top ground. XQC's forced to duck inside for a moment and note. Looking worse for wear as it's just him and Mangachu that now have been completely separated from the rest of the game. This is a lost fight almost. Immediately I have to feel with Note and Mangachu now down. That's brutal.
I think Canada really caught off guard with, you know, Track's Hanzo play at the beginning and same with Onigod on the Widowmaker. So you don't have agilities in either. You have Mangachu in. Mangachu will switch over to Genji, I was going to say. You don't have agilities as great Genji. We'll get to see Mangachu's Genji play. Mangachu's really, you know, projectile specialist.
Ooh, okay.
The bags are out.
Yep.
So
we call that the Dilmar dunk, Matt. Only got, yeah, okay, does opt to now use the infraside. I was wondering sort of if he would hold it. I would have been surprised if he held it until Surefour does it. It's a good way of actually snowballing momentum. Getting that information advantage now where Canada is sort of having to peek in sort of tentatively. Is that the Mangachu Genji? Is that the famous Mangachu Ninja Boy? All right, I'm here for it. Takes a big hit, only got to the high ground, jumped on immediately, taking down both tanks from Canada, went after the Widowmaker and got their prize.
As you do have to invest the Valkyrie in here for Canada, as you just need to get out onto the point. So there'll be a nice shot there from Track, taking out Mangachu. They're going to use a Transcendence here as well as Norway trying to push this. They do lose one to the self-destruct, but they should still come out on top of this fight. XQC using Primal Rage, just trying to stall this enough for his teammates to come back. So he knows they did get 1 or 2 picks there. They do have a little bit of a spawn advantage as Track coming off that respawn now.
Canada as a team have 2 kills and 13 deaths to their name so far. It's been very one-sided in this map for Norway. But Gibraltar is that kind of map, right, Matt? You get a very strong start on that first point. If you can shove the defending team out of that shuttle zone and force them to sort of filter in by those small doorways, you can really start to exercise your early lead and, you know, I guess extend it.
That's right. Norway talked about how, you know, they were talking to him earlier in the weekend, how they felt really confident playing all these tanks. They look better without the tanks in the lineup, right? You know, they look better when you got, you know, only got in Track playing just strictly DPS. You know, you're just going back to the Widowmaker Hanzo.
Oh, that's nasty!
Nice shot.
Only got fights ahead of Magnitude, and Crimzo was right behind. A double sniper composition really going the distance here for Norway. As is the payload, might I add. They're so close already. 4 minutes 55 on the clock. And the Fury of the North now gets unleashed. Thought Canadians were ready for the cold weather, but perhaps not this time around. Sure, that Sombra had been quiet. He struggled to really get a foothold in the backline. XQC takes a huge amount of damage before he even reaches the bridge. He doesn't even quite get there. Only got now the Dragon Blade to face him down. Magnitude looking for one more swipe, but he can't quite get there until the last one. Only got now down, but the Dragon Strike cuts through. It's a 1-for-1 trade with XQC down. 5v5. It's Magnitude now deciding where his next entry point is. Only God's back up, and Magnitude needs to be aware.
Yeah, I mean, using that Dragon Blade to just get that 1 kill, it gets completely negated by the Resurrection there. Is Norway trying to push this one all the way to the end. They do lose Tricky. XQC now back off the spawn. Is like Magnitude's done a nice job just being the aggressor here, putting some pressure on Oniga.
Bunny pushes forward, gets himself a bit of a boop there. You know, Norway Canada wanted to chase some of those kills, right? They got that early pick off on the Diva of Tricky, but they couldn't push forward because both double snipers were sat behind the bubble of the Winston. And now look at that, the pick on Bunny. That could be the unraveling here for Canada. Yes, it's a close spawn map, but they're down a player, down a Lucio, more crucially.
We'll have Primal Rage here. They're going to use the Transcendence and follow it up. As they do get rid of Decod, you probably don't even need the Primal Rage here, as XQC did take a chunk of damage, so he will pop that ultimate. Jump right on top of Tricky.
Okay, this Transcendence now, difficult to see sort of what result it may well yield. Only got picks off Shore for they're in the mess of the fight. So it's a 5v4 for Norway currently. Crimso's still returning now from those lower levels. Pushing forward against the IPN. You can see how much he wants it there. Really trying to get forward here, Norway. Sound barrier coming out from Canada now. They need to try and hold on in this fight. Dragon Strike cuts through, but IPN goes down early. Both supports missing. Magnitude finds the Mercy. And now Only God needs to give up his perch, his ivory tower to Magnitude and let the Genji take residence.
So now the double sniper comp is not working. You just had to use the Dragon Strike to make any type of progress. You can't throw it into the spawn. So that Track will fall yet again here. So now, you know, it doesn't seem like it's been a crazy hold here from Canada, but remember, we had above 5 minutes as Sureford does get slept here. He will get eliminated. Still a while for Norway to get to the payload, so he will be able to get back, you know, right back into this next fight.
I have to check with Troutman, Matt, but it looks like Shore has more deaths on this map than the entire series up until this point.
It has to be close.
Thank you. We'll get the answer on that one in just a moment. Magnitude Dragon Blade drops down. He gets the nano boost as well. IPN just gets disintegrated, but a headshot vertically from Track to find Magnitude. Shuts the Genji down, but the damage is already done. Tricky trying to push forward now. Only God did find Shore for and Decod again. This is what you're talking about, Matt. A late Primal Rage that yields little to no result.
I mean, you will get Tricky back in his mech, but Decod just goes in there, uses the Primal Rage, and by the time they get the mech back, everybody falls. So you didn't really get any use of that Primal Rage there, which Primal Rage is an ultimate right now that's, you know, so strong. Winston able to jump on top of a lot of targets, do a ton of burst damage. So XQC is going to have his big ultimate advantage now back over to Canada.
Only God now. Grappling hook up on high. Ico down early. Norway really starting to lose that momentum they built up earlier on in this round. Only God just trying to back away. XQC, I see you, fam! I see you! And is it a quiet moment? Yeah, just, you know, yeah.
Just returning the favor. They were doing it to him before, you gotta send it back.
So there you go. Shore on this map's died 6 times. The rest of the series, he died 6 times.
Yep, yeah, no, it's... Well, I mean, you have seen him play less Sombra on this map than all the others, right? He was playing Widowmaker for a lot of this map. Now at the end, switches over to Sombra. So the big changes here for Norway. You have both support switching it up. Oni God and Track will both switch things up. No double snipers. You're on Sombra. Genji here. Genji to get to that high ground.
Canada have done a great job of choking out the impetus from Norway here, slowing them down.
Norway has also used a ton of ultimates to just kind of push it towards the end when they haven't really had an opportunity to win the fight.
Maybe they lost their nerve at the last moment. XQC now, obviously. Oh, IPN, you don't have time to go for the teabag, my friend. Gets the Bionade dropped on him and Note punishing him. That's hubris for you. 1-for-1 trade though. 2 supports missing from the map, and XQC has to take a step back for the time being. Crimzo trying to keep him nice and topped up, being charged in from Mangachu though, and that's a D-suit on Tricky. No can press forward now and has a self-destruct as sort of a get-out-of-jail-free card, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be necessary. Norway are down to their last fight. They'll get staggered here for a moment, and this is it. They've got a Primal Rage to work with, a Nano Boost, maybe an EMP or Sound Barrier to work with.
And a really nice swap from Mangachu. Was playing Hanzo. You see his flexibility really pay off on this map. Now playing the Brigitte. He's got Rally to use, Nano Boost, and Sound Barrier. EMP as well for Canada. And because of these late switches for Norway, they don't really have much.
Decod now, first in, very deep. In fact, look at where the rest of his team was standing, but Shawful gets caught up in between them. He's down to Tricky. XQC now trying to reciprocate, get himself into the back line. And again, the Primal Rage will be forthcoming now. If he can use it before he goes down, he does. He got Bionated, but he's still okay. Aiko falls inside the small room, and Track trying to make ends meet with this Dragon Blade, or separate them as it were. That's just Mangachu down. Track having to back away, gets Bionated positively by his teammate, but no. Norway start falling like dominoes now. Barney with the cleaning crew over the payload, and that will do it. Norway will have to be satisfied with 2 points.
They can't really be too satisfied though, Mitch. I mean, they had over 5 minutes to go from point B to point C. They're not able to do it. Some really nice changes that come out from Team Canada. Now you brought in the Ana, you were running like a lot of Mercies in early in the map. Then you had Mangachu switch from so many different things. We saw his Genji, we saw Hanzo, we saw Brigitte during that map. A lot of changes as we take a clip here. XQC's Primal Rage.
Look at the setup with that biotic grenade as well. Just beautiful. Crimzo before it went down as a parting gift. And yeah, you just a little bit of back and forth. Obviously, you know, throughout this game, obviously players trying to exert some dominance over one another, but the scoreboard says it all. Oh yeah, it was all good fun, of course.
So we'll see what Norway decides to do on defense. I thought Onigod was really effective playing Widowmaker. Track at the beginning, hitting really nice shots as Hanzo. But once they stopped rolling with the double sniper, they stayed on it for like 2 or 3 more fights, and they burned through a bunch
What would you
of
have rather seen at that part of the map?
I think you could have went to the Sombra Genji a little bit earlier and not waste a lot of your ultimates. Like right there, Canada's on the back foot, right? Now that you have a ton of time to work with, they have to use their ultimates to win every single fight. And you never got one fight where your team had an advantage in terms of ultimates. You were always playing behind.
So just exert a bit of pressure. If you're in that position as Norway, you want to force out some of those ultimates, because the fact of the matter is the margin of error doesn't exist for Canada at that point.
You get a hack and then a Genji dash through on one player, and then they're forced to use maybe 2 ultimates to keep that going for Canada. You back out. You're playing a Lucio there. You come back. You have like an EMP plus a blade, right? And then you're right at the end. Like, it's just not really using their ultimates to their advantage there. Is we will see the Torb Orisa on defense here for Norway.
What's the purpose of that wall? Was that too short? I think that wall was shorter than he intended it to be.
I think he tried to put it up on the high ground, yeah.
Maybe he didn't quite make the distance on the jump he was hoping for. Regardless, no more, mate. And again, yeah, this Junkrat track, obviously, at extreme range, you probably didn't expect to do too much except poke annoyingly, but once Canada pass through this choke, or maybe while they're in it, they will be very susceptible to the burst damage or the area of effect damage from those grenades.
So we've seen some teams take, we've seen USA use the Torbjorn. Teams not be able to play around it. Let's see how a team like Canada, plays around this Torbjorn, right? It's both supports did right away. That'll be Onigod on the Widowmaker. Track on the Junkrat, they'll pick up the kills.
2 incidental kills sort of happening simultaneously there. And if you look at Canada's team composition, you'll note that against a composition that features a Widow and a Junkrat, Canada doesn't have any static shields, right? So they don't have any shield. They don't have a Reinhardt or an Orisa. They can't just walk up and protect their team. So once they come around that corner, they just sort of have to not get hit forehead by those shots. Easier said than done, for sure. They still want to keep those tanks. They don't want to bring shield tanks in because they favor the mobility and the ability to try and dive in. Get Shawful up on that high ground, but his options are more limited as Sombra for trying to get into the back line.
So they do get the Torb turret. Nope, jumps up there, takes it out. Sherpor does fall here, playing Sombra. The hands attack. You have a Junkrat tire. I think for me, it's how does Norway use some of these ultimates they're going to get online, right? Infrasight, really strong against Sombra. You're going to have a Rip Tire, which kind of guarantees a fight. Now you will eventually get a nano boost and a molten core if you stay on this. How do you use those? That'll be a Valkyrie comes out from Bonnie. Let's see what they get with this tire. They're going to be able to get Bonnie as well.
The range on that is just something to behold. There's a lot going on in the server room here, I think, in the build-up to these fights, Matt. That's obviously where we saw Saw4 get taken down earlier on. Canada need to get across to the server room as a unit, stay alive, and then sort of pressure that high ground down. But there's extra threat associated with doing so because Ico is very close now to that molten core. So trying to rash the Tourbillon turret head on is super hard to do. We saw yesterday teams try and pulse bomb the turret to try and remove it before molten core was used.
This next fight is huge. You did use 2 ultimates there. Canada's one. You used your Infrasight and your tire.
That's unfortunate.
Let's see. It's going to be Torbjorn turret falling, and you're going to have Tricky getting D-Max. So let's see if they use the nano boost here. You're going to see the dragon that comes through from Mangachu.
IPN drops in. No Bionade available to him when he was hacked, by the way. That's super crucial ability for Anna to have available to her, and Ico now is hacked. Really not much he could do there, unfortunately, for the Norwegian squad. Now it's just going to be Track trying to get rid of Mangachu, but Hanzo Arrow finds its mark finally. And now Tricky will get kicked out of that mech. The turret, of course, of Tourbillon doesn't function anymore because they're out of its line of sight. All right, Canadians, get that first point. They're on the road. Now, how do they try and stagger this out? Some very average spawns from Norway.
Yeah, 3 players get the front spawn for Norway. So DK just trying to prevent the payload from moving on forward. So everybody falls. They'll now have to back up. You still have the nano boost here. You're going to get another Rip Tire. How long do you stay on the Junkrat here?
I don't even... I mean, until you use the Rip Tire. The Junkrat can't get in yet. I think you use it and get out of
switch,
it.
Yeah.
If you can't get inside the shuttle phase, Matt, as a Junkrat, if you can't set up, then you don't do a heck of a lot. Getting rid of Mangachu here is pretty important.
He'll get res.
Now, you can see now, right? Like, Norway still take that opportunity to try and press forward a little bit, utilize that high ground. Junkrat still has an impact if he's standing on the bridge lobbing grenades down. The Dragon Strike, though, didn't really do a heck of a lot from Mangachu, maybe hoping there were people caught in the shuttle, but here comes the dive from Canada.
It actually gets eaten by Tricky as he's coming across the bridge.
Brutal.
Just a really big cone there. That Diva defense matrix is XQC will pop primal range. Gets into the backline, DK doing the same. He's trying to get this pick onto Crimzo. Crimzo being pocketed by Bonnie, and he's going to have to back out. He's lost too many teammates here, so...
Whoa, again?
Nope, through the wall.
That's a lot of Dragon Strikes. Mangachu gets himself in another one of those ultimates. This time he can actually use it. Doesn't claim anyone, but you can see that on that side room, 3 players from Norway are congregated. They sent only got 4th to try and get in the back line, and Scout. Track's hacked up, so he's not going to do much for the time being. He can only just really get away and try and escape, and that payload, it's gotten there. And Norway now had to trickle in once more, and again, try and avoid just having bad spawns or being staggered.
Now they've switched off of a few different heroes. Only God now will play Tracer, so you're going to go with kind of your standard dive with your tanks and your DPS. You're going to have Ico play Lucio here, and you're going to get an Ana in the mix.
Now, Matt, this comp seems good if Norway can actually, control the high ground.
Well, the Mangachu playing Torb, so...
Okay.
It'll be hard for them to dive in.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is. It's like a huge deterrent. It's like, if you want to dive us, you need to take this extra damage from our essential 7th man in the turret. Transcendent, should I say, was used there for Canada. Makes it very safe for them to come in. Probably EMP too, if I'm honest with you. And now, the pirate ship being constructed.
They don't have a static shield to put here, but probably won't matter as...
I think they just dive down and just cut off sight lines for Norway, right? Just to make it really hard for them.
I think XQC is going to use this jump to either push players back into the spawn. Yep. Oh, he's going to lock the Lucio. Really smart play there, trying to put the pressure on the Lucio.
Did you hear that as well? Sleep dart from IPN didn't manage to find XQC, so now he really has a lot of freedom here to work. Not getting any big knockoffs at the moment, but Crimzo from downrange finds Ico. Self-destruct Crimzo. Oh, can he get away from that? He does. Block line of sight, gets around behind the pillar. Tricky falls to Mangachu's turret, and the Tourbillon really starting to flex. And Canada will come away with the 4-0. The clean sheet, Matthew, continues to be written.
Yeah, towards the end, Mangachu's Tourbillon, we kind of joked a little bit about it, but when they go to use a self-destructive, Tricky launches up in the sky, and the Torb turret takes him out before he can get right back in his mech. So That's one big kill you would have liked to have, right?
Excuse me, trying to watch his play in the game, bro. What you doing? Can't interrupt that stuff.
Hey, dude, he has a monster game.
That's sacred.
He leads Canada in final blows with 18, 43 limbs, only 4 deaths.
That's the point that I'm most interested in as well. XQC survivalist with a whopping 20% of his team's damage there. Huge impact for him, and you could argue that maybe it's because of the compositions we saw Norway play, and then XQC gets to have a little bit of more fun, more rumble in the jungle. But on the side of Norway, a lot of takeaways here, Matt. And we saw them, really start very well. It's quite clear to see that when you can put Norway in the driving seat, very strong. You put them in the corner, though, and they go very quiet.
And I think this series could have been a little bit closer if Norway would have banked up some of those ultimates, used them more effectively. I think what they try to do is, really kind of close some of these fights out when they were already done. And I think just playing on the stage, some pressure going up against Canada, probably had something to play in that. But we got Malik down on the floor with Mangachu. Let's catch up with them, see what he has to say about this match.
Thank you, Mr. X. Got Mangachu here from Team Canada. They just pulled off another 4-0 victory. Mangachu, you had a bit of a tough go last night in your contenders match. How's it feel to come out here today and get the victory with Team Canada?
It feels pretty good. I haven't been the journey hasn't been as long with this team. XL2, we're all super close friends still after everything, and it's just really good to get another win.
Was practicing for contenders a little bit difficult for you, given that you had this on the back burner as well?
Yeah, I had to focus a lot on both teams. We played a lot of different compositions. Mainly on XL2, we played goats, and then coming over here, we played a lot of dives. So it was a little stressful, but it's working out with Team Canada at least.
So there were, a couple of weaknesses that I saw, from my eyes from Team Norway. But for you, what did you think made it, so easy for you guys to kind of claim victory today?
Cheese. Lots of cheese.
Like the Torbjorn, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, last thing I want to ask you, man. So let's take it back to last year at the World Cup. A lot of people got mad at me because I criticized your diva play. I think I called it booty butt cheeks, if I'm not mistaken. You forgive me for that, man? I'm really sorry about it.
We got to grand finals with me on Diva, so I've put it in the past for sure.
All right, cool. We've deaded it. It's over. Reddit, stop talking about it, okay? All right. Well, with that, man, thank you very much, Mangachu. Much appreciated. Everybody, give it up for him one more time. And Team Canada clinching the 4-0 victory, moving into first place. And without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and break down that match right now with the casters.
Bro, you don't forgive you. He's still got a Malik voodoo doll at home. He's just dipping in hot oil every now and then, bro. It ain't that easy, fam. Come on.
Oh, man. But hey, Mangachu did make a point. They did get second last year with him on the Diva, so couldn't have been that bad. But this game, Canada looking strong yet again. It's just, they just keep rolling. USA's rolling, although they did have a tough go with Brazil. Same with Canada. But both of these teams on a crash course that match tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that's a highlight match for this entire weekend, something that everyone's looking forward to. We've seen some excellent matches sort of throughout the way. Some crazy stuff in general, but I'm quite sure, as always, it's not nearly as crazy as the back and forth that we've sort of seen going over on the Twitter sphere, guys. That's why it's time for the T-Mobile Fan Pulse, brought to you by the fastest network ever. Let's have a look at what people are saying out there, Matt. And I think we all can agree with this tweet. Dude, I would love to have agilities as far as skills. I would just be climbing up the ladder, just playing Insalok and Farah, finding a Mercy to play with me, just grinding out those games.
Some of my favorite moments actually from agilities have been like throughout the Overwatch League, and I remember watching him on a Hollywood, I think, and playing that Farah attack against Widowmaker, not really caring, still being able to deal with that. So that's been really fun to see as well. So we didn't see as much of him in this game. We saw Mangachu sort of pick up. That's why we saw the Mangachu Genji in general, which is super interesting. Of course, I mean, how do you choose between, Canada and the USA with just stars on like this on both rosters?
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of the LA Overwatch League teams represented here in the Burbank stage, right? You got both DPSs from the LA Gladiators, and then you got agilities in Space the Valiant.
So I love it. And again, I tweeted this out as well. A lot of really young talent, very hungry across both of these teams, which is really great to see. And leaders as well, born leaders from some of these guys. And again, we're seeing a lot of different sort of metas and setups, man. I think that's safe to say. But do you feel like that's because some teams maybe are a little bit behind on their sort of take or understanding of how best to play right now?
I don't know if it's that teams are behind. I think a lot of the stuff that we learned in Overwatch League is you need DPS players who are very versatile, and I think Team USA has that, Team Canada has that, and I think you need to see that develop in other regions where they have to learn how to play some of these heroes that are a little bit harder to play, like your Doomfist.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Overwatch World Cup and the whole world is watching, so help take your team to trending with the hashtag OWWC on Twitter, brought to you, of course, by the fastest network ever. big shout outs, of course, to you guys for continuing to interact with us. Thanks for that one. And yes, so much to talk about. We still got some more games to go today, Matt. I really do think that, we'll see Norway continue to show a little bit more of what they got.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, I think Norway's very close, competitive in some of these games. It's just, broadening their hero pool, being able to play some Doomfist at times, I think would be really nice for them, against some of these tank-heavy compositions, and then to move away from the tank-heavy comps. I thought you saw there on Gibraltar, they looked really good with their double sniper towards the beginning of the match, not as much towards the end.
Oh yeah, we talked about Doomfist a fair bit, Matt. You were discussing it's something you kind of wanted to examine, is like the usage of Doomfist between a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see, the percentage of Doomfist play from both Canada and USA, and then all of the other teams combined. So you see the Doomfist usage from Canada and USA above 30%. Every other team is just at 1% usage. Doomfist is such a strong hero right now in combination with your Sombra play that I feel like you need to see more Doomfist from a lot of these teams. His one-shot kill potential is huge, and you see right there a lot of teams lacking it.
That's right, and we'll see a little bit more, I guess, of that Doomfist sort emerge later on. After the break, ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America take on Switzerland here. Plenty more games to come, of course, at the LA group stage for the Overwatch World Cup 2018. We'll see you after the break.